Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to State's narration of the web series The Nature of Predators Book 2. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 5. Memory Transcription of Tassie by some Scientist. Date, Standardized Human Time, March 13th, 2160. When General Naruto relayed news of our visitors to the FAI scientists, their indignance at being held hostage in their workplace evaporated. Just as mine had, once I was briefed in the convoy. The press had been alerted as well, as the Lessian government prepared an official livestream alongside several broadcasts. How would the aliens respond to a series of questions, if we allowed reporters to corner them? The aliens appeared to want to address the media, though they might not be prepared for provocative queries. Dustin, Nulia, and Heliska didn't seem unwilling to answer our inquiries, but there was such a thing as too much all at once. I whispered for Naruto to let the aliens address the populace, before allowing them to initiate a question and answer question only if they wanted to. The journalists needed to be advised to proceed with caution. Our visitors were friendly, as far as I could tell, but the last thing that we wanted was to scare them off. It was apparent there were some abscesses in their past that they were slow to divulge. It had been my mission to figure out what we hadn't been told, but I found myself easily distracted by the humans' banter. Dustin regaled us with stories from his society and images from across the galaxy. All analysis of their food policies evaporated from my mind. So that great signal, the mystery frequency that kept showing up and some people thought was aliens, that we spent years researching, hundreds of scientific papers written on it, what we thought were alien signals, were actually microwaves. Like I was saying, we heat our meals, the data points were microwaves from impatient folks forcibly opening the damn oven before it was done, Dustin chuckled. Naruto's eyes twinkled with amusement. How many years were spent researching this? 17, if I remember. 17 years before someone goes, wait a second. This frequency is one that's really familiar. All because a multitude of people don't follow instructions, and the oven leak was right by the signal receiver. I would be so frustrated if FIA had spent years analyzing a signal that was from within our lab, I groaned. I guess it's strange to have spent so much time finding ways to analyze the stars, and have first contact just fall into our beaks. It's happened to many of us, Nulia remarked. Gojits knew about aliens since before I was born, unlike Dustin's species. Dustin remembers when his kind first found aliens. Then humans, their soldiers landed on my planet. Our entire village panicked and my mother, abandoned me. A human soldier came and saved me, raised me as his own. Veliska lashed a conical tail. When you talk like that, you make humanity sound like the aggressors. We all know they didn't want that. I didn't think that we were spelling out the details for the war here and now. The Bisoms already know that there was a conflict, and that terrible things happened. I don't see the point of sugarcoating it, especially when it shaped all of our pasts. It's difficult to explain what Gojit culture was like before the humans rebuilt the cradle's bombed-out husk, and Project Chronicle wrote us a guide map. Bombed-out husk? You said earlier you lived in Skullgar since you were a child. General Naruto's eyes looked like they were about to pop out of his skull. Are you telling me that's because your planet was destroyed in this conflict, too? The humans are fighting you, and they did this. The humans fought with decency, and decent as a war can be, and did everything in their power to avoid civilian casualties. There are many videos of their sacrifice and valor protecting innocent lives like mine. The same species that destroyed the Thafki homeworld centuries ago swooped in while the Terrans, the alternative name for humans, were occupying our planet. But truth be told, they only did because our generals wanted to wipe them out. What the fuck? This history gets more and more fucked up the more I hear it. Do enlighten me on what motivated your species to wish humans extinct, and what sounds like their first contact. Would you ever get the same idea about us? No. That government is long gone. We're allies with the humans nowadays, and committed to peaceful exploration of the galaxy alongside them. You skipped my first question. What was the reason you wished for the humans' extinction? Dustin slumped his shoulders. I was hoping to touch on happier topics, General Naruto. Let's just say, for now, that it was hatred. It's been coloring every culture that we've come across, and it's been a painstaking journey to fix it. As I said, we'll tell you the tragedy of our galactic introduction at some point. I just see cameras outside, and I don't want our first words to billions of frightened bisons to be about a war of extinction that happened 20 years ago.
The real question isn't whether you're ready for us here in Irvana, it's whether we're ready for you, Heliska admitted. Whether we can avoid making the mistakes of our predecessor organization. Maybe we can pen a new chapter in our history together.
I need to know what's going on, Nalto fired back. If there's a threat to bisons... Nudia fiddled with her claws.
We're not the threat. We're taking every precaution to avoid causing you inadvertent harm, to culture or safety. The threat to divergent societies was averted when the humans exposed centuries of lies and tyranny through their arrival.
Centuries? I inhaled in a slow fashion, trying to process the words.
I'm beginning to suspect I've underestimated just how troubled the galaxy's history was.
You have no idea. Let's just say your first contact would be quite different without us. Dustin sighed. May I ask for us to enjoy the feast? Through a cultural exchange, one with more levity than the current topic. I meant what I said about not wanting to get into this history in depth, yet it keeps coming up. I'm quite excited to meet the FAI scientists and to speak to the public.
I'm nervous, Heliska grumbled. Very nervous.
My flippers rested by the door, observing the crowd of cameras waiting for us.
This is a celebration of the aliens' arrival. I agree that we should focus on what they are now, and not what they were in recent years. As they've forgiven our own contention here, I'm eager for every citizen and every nation to hear their word.
As are we. Our team only learned simplified Vrit, but that won't be a problem for you once we pass along our translators. Nudia tapped a spot right underneath her tiny ear, suggesting that she had some dermal implant.
May we exit the vehicle?
Of course you may. There's a podium with a microphone where you can address the watching world before the feast begins.
The Salmo general sighed.
The Arctic subspecies bison popped open the door handle, assisting me into the street with a flipper. Gathered FIA scientists looked like children who caught their first fish, eager to steal a glimpse of the alien visitors. Military personnel were corralling the media, as well as public spectators who'd torn down the side swim at the news. PSAs were being broadcast, warning anyone in the vicinity that their safety could not be guaranteed, and that this was an emergent situation. There was awe, excitement, curiosity, and fear commingling in the crowd. This was the moment Irvana would be introduced to a galactic community, and we'd be asked to rise to the occasion. Every bison will see how much work and effort the aliens have put into learning about us, and how similar they are to us. For a moment, when the human was talking about those microwave signals, it felt so normal. Dustin bobbed his head at each of his colleagues before leading the way out into the open. There was a wave of gasps from bisons who hadn't envisioned an alien looking anything like him. The patchy fur definitely caught them off guard. The shocked exclamations intensified once the two other visitors emerged with submissive postures. It was rare to see reporters tongue-tied. That effect didn't last long, though they seemed more subdued and taken aback than usual. The human raised a delicate hand, his palm facing the cameras, in a gesture that was likely some sort of acknowledgement. General Naltor helped usher the aliens towards the podium, though he seemed a bit leery of outright touching them. That might make it all real. Biselma shushed the reporters' questions, and after seeing that the Terran intended to deliver a speech, they obeyed for once. Apart from a few shouts of hello and welcome from the spectators that were likely science fiction aficionados, everyone was willing to wait in silence. I noticed several FIA colleagues shooting greedy glances at me, wishing they could transfer what I already knew into their minds. Our scientists looked more ready to strap the visitors to a chair and interrogate them than the reporters. Well, hey there. I'm humbled and honored to speak with you, to be here on your beautiful planet. Please, do not fear us. Dustin waited for a moment as a new round of gasps took off. None were more surprised than my fellow scientists at his perfect writ. I know what you're all thinking. Really, I do. It was only 20 years ago that I sat in an orphanage on my homeworld, listening as our planet's chief diplomat told all 10 billion of us that we'd met aliens. Now I'm here, as the mystical bee in a sea of cameras are pointing towards, and I know that this feels like a pivotal moment in your history. I'd love to hear Dustin describe more of what first contact felt like for humanity. I'd wanted to know if his people shared any of those transcendent emotions and wild thoughts that ran through my head today. I am here to tell you that all of this will become a lot easier to process, sooner than you think. Before you know it, Bisons might be up and helping the new generation. Some child who listened to my words and felt compelled to explore the stars. It's a beautiful cycle. I am also here to tell you that none of us are mystical at all. We're a handful of species that happened upon warp engines and formed an organization that ensures cooperation between 82 diverse civilizations. We're called the Sapient Coalition. We are devoted to science, to individual rights, and to peace. Warp engines? That answers my question about their mode of traversing the vast distances. Imagine what that technology could do for the Lassium space program. I also know that you're likely feeling self-conscious about how we might judge you for your worst moments. We felt the same. If I stood here and described all of the blunders, the mistakes, the divisiveness, or just plain stupidity of my people's history, I'd be here for several lifetimes. We fervently believe in your species and that you share our fundamental drive to explore this universe that we inhabit for only a fleeting time, that you can join us in celebrating new life and cultures. I heard from Dustin earlier that his people were divided before first contact. As much as I wish they'd be perfect, there is something to be said for their flaws, that they haven't forgotten their past. We recognize our immense responsibility in introducing you to new technology. Great minds scattered across many worlds have made fantastic discoveries and creations that can save and better Bison lives. I'm talking about eliminating the language barrier of runner that hamper communication. I'm talking about curing diseases, advanced prosthetics, genetic knowledge, and life extension technologies. Spaceships can bring you to nearby stars. We want you to share our blessings. Several cheers rose up from the crowd, as watching Bison seemed delighted by the possibilities that the human had laid out. There was so much needless death and suffering that the aliens' advanced science could conquer. There was a great deal of knowledge the numerous civilizations in the Sapient Coalition must have acquired. This altruistic rhetoric should make it evident that they intended to better our society, not to eradicate it like Bison colonizers on Nelum, or whatever had been done to the Thafki and the Gojids. If we were the first ones the SE had reached out to as an organization, I wanted to tell them that they were doing well. I wanted to play a part in helping them learn and create something better. But we must pass these marvelous things along with care. We wish to avoid their misuse and for them to be twisted into harmful applications. We don't favoritize any faction. The last thing we want to is aid death and division, when we've become so very fond of all of your cultures, the unique flames of life lit within billions of Bison souls. We wish for you to retain that beautiful uniqueness by maintaining your ways and customs. We hope you'll challenge us with new ways of thinking, and that you'll one day join our cause as fellow beings linked by the strange experience of sapience. Thank you. Nulia gave Dustin a congratulatory pat on the back, and his binocular eyes swelled with water from deep emotions. It seemed as though the human was moved by the prospect of Bison's hearing his words and joining humanity's pacifist cause. The reporters launched into vigorous sets of questions, asking for the Terran to expand on his points, and on other things he hadn't covered, such as how the SC found a runner. Heliska offered a brief comment that they'd take interviews at a later date, while Nulia tacked on that they planned to share their culture and history through a data release. All of their knowledge dispensed through the internet, to be used by all Bisons for the greater good. It was almost too good to be true, yet I didn't doubt their intentions for a second. Despite the seedy past I'd heard about, I found myself swept up in this new era of idealism. What Dustin outlined had been my life stream as well. Even if it wasn't perfect, or the transcendent society my heart desired, I still yearned to learn everything about it. I was glad that an official livestream would be recording the feast that took place inside. The FAI scientists permitted to dine with the guests should offer up interesting questions. The public might see the beginnings of those answers outlined during our communion. Dustin turned to face me, a glimmer in his eyes. Dr. Tassie, one of the data points humanity asked to share is called the Golden Record. We attached it to the first probe that left our solar system, much like the last man's space program did. A collection of our culture and our goodwill. We have so much more to share, but as the galaxy's sentimental people, we'd love for that to be the first thing that you see of us.
That sounds delightful. We attached something similar to one of our probes, a codex of greetings in our primary 4 languages. FAI scientists recorded a message as well. You may have seen our faces before.
I suppose we have then. If I remember correctly, us discovering you caused quite a stir. Semi-aquatic flightless birds. All sorts of facts about bisons made the rounds on the internet. You're the first pre-FTL civilization humanity has discovered. This is big to us as well.
You stated your classification like it was noteworthy. Our birds, there aren't any other sapient birds?
We know of 2 of them. The Dirtian and the Crocodile. The human's eyes darted back and forth, with jerky movements that seemed to be acknowledging the watching cameras. I'll happily provide you with a species codex when we transmit our data for your perusal. That info will probably come tonight. The Dirtian are not SC members. They run their own group called The Shield. We would have brought the Crocodile along with our first contact party. We almost did, but they're still a bit, fractious, complicated. We figured you'd have more in common with the water-loving Thafki. You're both drawn to it, aren't you?
It's in our nature. It's why we build our nations on the coastline. It's the giver of food and comfort. I believe Halaski said that you enjoy it too, despite being mammals.
The Thafki blinked at the sound of her name.
Humans are quite fond of the ocean. They evolved to be arboreal, but they seem to do whatever they want. There isn't much in nature that you won't find that they've turned into some form of entertainment or escapism. Earth is a galaxy's entertainment capital for a reason. There's something about their enthusiasm, their willingness to take on anything that's singular, Nudia remarked. I imagine some of their pastimes might expand your horizons.
The human chuckled. Bisons already share our pastime of making memes, but I bet my face is being plastered on dozens of them right now.
That was a Terran word you just used, I prompted.
Pictures with silly captions on the internet. That's our word for them. I know you have a different one, but I am blanking. Say, I bet you could make one of us 3 exiting the vehicle, and everyone staring at us. Some tagline like, how your parents look at you when you flunk a test.
You're an idiot, Nudia sighed. You know millions of people can hear what you're saying.
Then they'll make the memes just like that. I planted the seed. A little fun and humor wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It's a way of seeing the light in what's crazy. It's a very, human thing to do.
Did you make memes when the Kelson were bearing down on you?
Of course we did. But let's not talk about that guy now. Dr. Tassie, would you mind showing us to the feast? General Knowlton ducked away from where he'd been giving a statement calling for cooperation between Ritala, Selma, and Tisea subspecies. You're asking the wrong bison, but yes, we can show you inside. I think that went exceedingly well. You were quite personable and humble. I don't know if that'll resonate with people, but that quality of yours has impressed me, Dustin. Thanks. I respect that you want what's best for your people, General Knowlton. Protecting the vulnerable is the most honorable thing any sapient could do. Attitudes like that are one of the reasons I have high hopes for bisons, to become a force for good, smashing down any preconceptions. You talk a good game, alien. Let's eat, shall we? I studied the Thafki out of my periphery, noticing her moving closer to the human. Are you all right, Alaska? I noticed the suggestion of the feast seems to spark a reaction from you.
I apologize. I'll be fine. It isn't my favorite activity.
The blue-gray furred mammal muttered.
I'd much rather be having a swim together, but I'm here to learn and be the positive influence. That's right. Positivity.
Iliska sounded beyond unconfident, though despite my increasing suspicions over her feast anxiety, I couldn't bring myself to advise Neltor to call it off. If the alien said that she was fine, then surely I was worrying about her emotional state for no reason. Thafki's demeanor could be more timid than other species, from living in a commune without a homeworld. We couldn't apply bison standards to these visitors, no matter how similar to us they acted. Dustin had requested not to delve into the most disquieting issues tonight, and I was willing to respect that. However, it might be worth investing more mental resources into picking up on any cues, just in case the Thafki was in a vulnerable state.
This can't go wrong. With a livestream of the feast happening, I don't want it to reflect poorly on Hiniska, not without the context of what's up with her. I'll keep an eye on her, and I suspect General Naltor will too.
With the entire world watching our shared meal, I led the way into an FAI convention center and prepared to introduce the aliens to the other scientists who'd spent a lifetime seeking proof of their existence. End of chapter. I'd quickly like to thank our T5 Patreon and channel members Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, 050, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.